So what do you think about disclosure, asking these big ag companies to tell us exactly what chemicals they are spraying, how much, and where?
I think it's pretty necessary because I live right next to them, and when I see them spraying, I always feel like I'm sick or I like a little cold or something. I think it's necessary for the health of people in Kauai.
What do you think about requiring buffer zones 500 feet between the ag companies to create, and the schools and hospitals and residential areas?
I feel like that's a really good idea because we don't want the kids getting sick or just ordinary people just always being sick from all the chemicals that they're spraying.
What do you think about doing a study to see if there's any harm being done by their spraying by testing the soil, water, bee pollen, and people for toxic chemicals?
I think that's a really good idea because so we can know what chemicals we have in our bodies and which ones are not supposed to be there and which ones are making us sick and stuff like that.
I think disclosure is common sense. If they are truly here, to help, I don't, if their main mission is to help, I don't see what's wrong with helping the people of Kauai know what they're bringing to the island. If they're, so confident in their product, I think they should be more transparent with everybody and everything that they're doing on the island.
All right, thanks. Okay, what do you think about requiring buffer zones of 500 feet where the ag companies have to between where they spray and where schools, hospitals, and people's homes are?
Well, that is an example of a type B pollution, or when it isn't from an exact point, like let's say a mill or something. You could say, oh, this is where the pollution is coming from, but in this case the stream is what's getting polluted, and so are you don't want to have that near schools or anything. So how big is the buffer zone? 500
feet.
I don't even know if that's that should be a minimum buffer zone, because when it starts, the winds, the rain, it can carry that stuff far. And I took an environmental science class in college. I learned a lot about this, and it isn't like, I think we should just move it to a whole nother place. I mean, to be honest, I don't think 500 feet is enough.
And why do you think that?
Just because stuff moves, the wind, the rain. It's a small island, things get carried along all the streams, and it isn't always just one spot. It can be, it could be this part of the field, that part of the field, and stuff just gets carried. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay.
Right on.
What do you think about doing a study to see if there's any harm being done by their spraying, by testing the soil, water, bee pollen, and people for toxic chemicals?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
What do you think about requiring the study to be done to see if their spraying is in the soil, water, bee pollen, or affecting people?
That's another
The
common
EIS,
sense.
the Environmental Impact Study, is what it's asking for.
Like anything on this island, that's why the super ferry didn't come through, is because they didn't do a EIS, environmental safety report or study. And I think that's that's needed for any projects going on in the island. I'm surprised that they've been allowed to do what they've done without one. And definitely that's a common sense. Definitely need a study to so we can inform the public and make this common knowledge that GMOs and the whole planting, whole process of fertilization and chemicals that they're spraying. The fertilizers too aren't too good, I heard.
Yeah, I don't know enough about that.
Yeah, that's why we need a impact study.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Do you think it's a good idea to ask the companies to wait on making more fields in other parts of the island until the studies have been done, the results of these studies have been done?
Yeah, definitely. I feel that we should wait till all GMO planting and non-organic farming should be halted until the study is done.
And do you think it's a good idea for the island of Kauai to take care of this issue, or do you think it would be better to let Honolulu and the state of Hawaii, who are busy with all the islands, to deal with this?
I like your questions. They're very, it's obvious. Definitely, I feel who knows the island better, or who knows the island of Kauai better than the people of Kauai? definitely. You know, that's simple as that.
And in general, how do you feel about these large amounts of dangerous chemicals being sprayed in Waimea and possibly more areas on Kauai?
I feel it's kind of like the answer to the last question. I feel that these companies like DuPont and Syngenta and Pioneer and all of them should get out and just, papayas. Leave it to the local farmers. We're doing a damn good job. They are. Simple as that.
All right.
Well, one more question.
Go ahead.
What do you think about the risks we're up against? If for some reason they don't leave, what are we scared of? What are you scared of? What do you think might happen?
Cancer, infertility, the whole losing your genes, I heard, is another result. Yeah, because that's what they do in the GMOs is they cut out the genes and splice other stuff, and you're eating that. So just a whole wide range of problems. Respiratory illness from all the chemicals that they're spraying. Cancer.
How do you feel about them spraying this stuff right next to the ocean to the ocean?
Yeah.
Yeah. What if they go up Kiliakai? What could happen in the future? That's their next plan.
Yeah, it's not good news. I feel, halt production now, stop the presses. It isn't good. Yeah, no expansion, People just gotta start going organic. It's sad that people might lose their jobs, but in the end, I feel that the consequences of all this GMO and the non-organic farming are gonna hurt the people of Kauai in the long run, and it just no good.
Pass the bill 2491.
It's kind of like the smoking law. Now we gotta be certain feet away from the buildings to smoke, so why not with poison?
So, what do you think about disclosure? Making the big ag companies tell us exactly what chemicals they are spraying, how much, and where.
I feel like everyone should know what's going into the air. If they should know if something harmful is out there.
Exactly. Thank you. What do you think about buffer zones? Asking the ag companies to create safe 500 feet space between where they spray and where the schools, hospitals, and people's homes are.
I think that's a precaution that should be taken. And if it's near schools and hospitals, it could affect other people. It could get people sick. And that could be a big problem.
Exactly. People are getting sick. What do you think about doing a study to see if there's any harm being done by their spraying? Seeing if there's toxic amounts of the chemicals being found in the soil, the water, the air, the bee pollen going around the island.
I'd support that study. I think that on either side of the argument, people would need to see what's happening.
And do you think it's reasonable to ask these companies to wait on expanding what they're doing until these results of these studies have been done?
I think that would be a reasonable thing to ask, that they wait to see if it's actually hurting people or not.
And what do you think in general about the 18.5 tons of pesticides being sprayed on this island every year, restricted to use pesticides?
Sounds like a safety problem, and I think that could really hurt a lot of people, and they should look into that.
Excellent.
Like I said earlier, I live right next to them, and when I can tell they're spraying, I always feel really sick. When I'm surfing and all the runoff, I'll get sick just from surfing with the chemicals.
So you feel it in the water when you're surfing?
Yeah.
Do your friends feel it too?
Mostly my dad. Sometimes with me though.
Do you know a lot of people that have been affected by the spraying?
Yeah.
So, what do you think about disclosure? Asking the big ag companies to tell us exactly what chemicals they are spraying, how much, and where.
I think it's very important, because if you look around us, it's so much things are happening in this Kauai, especially with all these companies with all this stuff they're spraying onto the soil, and it's a really big problem we're having. So I think it's very important, this disclosure, and we should definitely be talking about it more. And they're trying to be real quiet about it, the stuff they're doing. They don't want to they're not making big signs and saying, oh yeah, we're spraying this much chemicals into the soil, you know. They're being real quiet about it, secretive. They're not trying to let everybody know what they're doing. So I think that's very important, that they should kind of, if they're going to be doing it, they should at least be letting everybody know what they're doing, yeah.
What do you think about 500-foot buffer zones between where they spray and where schools, hospitals, and people's homes are?
I think 500 feet is, what is 500 feet? You know, it's so little. It's like 500 feet, we were just saying, is from here to the bathroom. You know, that's nothing. So I think at least, like Dustin Barker was saying, quarter mile, or, you know, quarter mile at the least. If anything, half mile, you know, so it's like, I know 500 feet is very minimal. We can do better than that. 500 feet, I just think like somebody, I can smell it. Like somebody have a fire right there, I can smell it. It's not like, it's not a big distance. I can, you know, so that's what I think. Yeah, everything's in the travel.
And what do you think about doing a study, requiring an environmental impact study or some kind of study to test if there are toxic levels of these pesticides being found in the soil, water, air, people, bee pollen, etc.?
I think that should be done, and I don't know why it hasn't been done yet, because this is something that is really gonna like affect our ecosystem over here in Kauai. So it's like, it's very important, and I don't understand how come they never did it yet.
So do you think it's reasonable to ask these companies to conduct, to wait before expanding to other parts of the island until the results of this study has been done?
I think for sure, because if they don't know what's happening with the places they already have, if they don't have a study to see how they're poisoning the land already, they don't know what they're doing, why are they gonna be expanding to poison more land, to ruin it for, you know, when they're already ruining over there, why do they want to ruin more? So I think for sure they should definitely have the study done before, and I can't believe how they haven't had it yet.
Do you think it's a good idea for the island of Kauai to take care of this issue, or do you think it would be better to let Honolulu and the state of Hawaii, who are busy with all of the islands, to deal with this issue?
My opinion on that is, I think that Kauai should be doing it for sure, but I also think Oahu and I think every island should be doing it. It's not something that just Kauai should be doing, just something that Oahu should be doing. We should all be working together so we can all do this. You know, even the whole world, really, we're starting to think about it more, but it's definitely something where we're in Hawaii, we're the center of this whole thing, GMO testing in the whole world, really. So I think we should definitely try to work together to do this. It's not something that just Dustin Barker's gonna do, you know, or just it's everybody has to do it together. So it's definitely, I think we should all do it. It's not just Kauai. Really, I think it's everybody's job. Even if you don't work for the state, if you're cleaning up rubbish, if you're homeless over here, you know, this is our life. If you live on Kauai, if you live here, you made this your home, you're born here, whatever, especially if you're born here, you know, you should definitely be taking responsibility, be proud of where you're from, want to have this place. I know that I want to have my kids grew up over here, so I know how I grew up, so I would definitely want them to experience the same way, you know. So that's something I definitely want to preserve.
Okay, and how do you feel in general about 18.5 tons of restricted use pesticides being sprayed on this island every year?
It's kind of hard to imagine.
And possibly more areas.
It's hard to imagine that much chemicals, really. I would almost like have to want to see how much that is, you know, because it's, when you say a number, it's a lot, it sounds like, yeah. So it's something where it's like, you can't believe that they would do so much, you know, and that's without diluted, that's without putting all the water into it. So that's millions and millions of gallons of chemicals, and so it's crazy. It's very crazy that they're dumping that into the soil, and they don't have tests about it to see what it's doing, and it's just unreal.
How do you feel in general about the presence of these companies on this island?
It's not something that's happened yesterday. They didn't just come here. They've been here kind of encroaching, yeah. Like something where I've just found out over the last couple of years, but really they've been here for a while already, you know. They've been giving jobs to people, so it's something that people, they feel that it's, people on the west side especially, like this is how they get their money and whatever. So it's like, it's something where I don't like them, you know, but I can understand how people, they feel like they need these companies now, you know. So we just, like, how I feel about it is we gotta find a way to to get rid of them and turn them into something else, you know, turn them into an organic farm or some other way we make a job for these people, you know. So it's just, that's what I think about it. I really don't like them because it's really not doing nothing good for us. We're not eating the food. What are they making for us? They're just poisoning the land, yeah. So that's how I feel about it.
Would say pass the bill?
Pass the bill.
Aloha, I'm Bailey Schneider, and last year for my junior year chemistry project, I did my project on the effects of GMOs on the chemicals in your body and what the metabolic changes it creates in your body. And it was a class of about 25 to 30 students, and because it's a very, very conservative state and people are very against activism, I got booed by half the class, and 2 kids walked out and only about 3 listened. And most of them, I thought most of them were my friends. I was just, well, because one of the kids, a couple of the kids, their parents worked for companies like Dow and Syngenta, and one of my friends, his dad worked for a pharmaceutical company, and he got he got bought out by Nestle or something to work in the seed department. So they weren't very happy with it, and they were saying, like, so what if it tastes good, it doesn't matter, and if it feeds the world, it doesn't matter what's in your food. Yeah, and they're like, well, and they were saying, like, one girl said, well, McDonald's is GMO, and I was like, well, McDonald's isn't very good for you. She's like, I don't care, it tastes good. It's just incredible, like, ignorance of, like, what you put in is, it's like XY. What you put in is a result. Like, the result that comes out comes from what you put in. So it really matters what you put into your body and how you care for your body, because you're a reflection of that. And even the way you act and how you treat people and the way you even look and feel is all from what you put into your body. And even the chemicals, like the pesticides, that's like, it hugely affects like your metabolism and your skin. And I'm somebody who has very, very sensitive skin and allergies, and I had eczema my whole life. And if there's like high pollution in the air, I break out of my skin. And if I eat like something, like I can tell immediately, like if something's, like nobody really believes me on it, but like if I eat like a pineapple from like Costco, like a Dole pineapple, my skin will break out. But if I go to the farmer's market and get pineapple from like, I don't know, like Moloa or Organic or just a local farm, I'm trying to think of the names, but it's like huge difference. I could eat it no problem. The same with mangoes, and can't have like anything with lots of chemicals. Like all my shampoo I had to switch to all organic because the chemicals have such an effect on my skin. And if there's chemicals from these plants like in the water, it's really interesting to see like what, if we're drinking that water and we're surfing in that water and swimming in it, like what effect is it taking if it's going into our pores and in our hair and we're breathing it. I think the buffer zones are really important to this bill, and I even think 500 feet is a little small and they could be bigger, but I think that it's very important to avoid like drift of the chemicals they're spraying, and then buffer zones for like even the genetically modified crops that they're planting. I think it's good to avoid cross-pollination, because with genetically modified crops, the only way to keep the organic crops next door certified organic is to keep them 2 fields away. So 500 feet may not even be 2 fields away.
What do you think about requiring an EIS, an environmental impact study, to see if there are toxic amounts of chemicals found in the soil, water, air, etc.?
I think we really do need to have a study, and possibly a long-term study as well. because then we can see what is the danger of what's happening here on Kauai, or we can even see if it's dangerous at all. Like if it is safe, we have the right to know if it's safe, and we have the right to know if it's dangerous. It's like any other thing, like for example, tobacco. People for years didn't know that it was dangerous, and with the studies they've done, we know that it's dangerous, and you have the right to choose to do it or not to do it. It's the same with pesticides and genetically modified foods.
And I think it's a good idea to ask these companies to wait before expanding to more parts of the island until these studies have been done.
Yes, of course. They shouldn't be able to expand with something dangerous. We should know if it's safe or not before they can expand. And it's our land that they're expanding on, not theirs.
Do you think it's a good idea for the island of Kauai to take care of this issue, or do you think it would be better to let Honolulu and the state of Hawaii, who are taking care of all the islands, deal with this?
I think you need to start at the root of the issue, and while this is happening on other islands, such as it's happening in Haleiwa and Oahu and Molokai and Maui, I think with the passion that we have in Kauai to fight against this, I feel like we need to start here and start with solving our problems here and then expand it on a greater scale. And I think with our passion here, it'll spread to the different islands and hopefully to the mainland as well.
And in general, how do you feel about the dangerous amounts of chemicals being sprayed in Waimea and possibly more areas of Kauai, 18.5 tons of restricted pesticides?
Every time I hear the amount of chemicals that they're spraying, it just baffles me. Normally they only spray every 6 weeks on normal farms, and they spray very small amounts. And if they're spraying huge amounts that not even our bridges here can hold up, it says on their signs the limits of weight, that can't be healthy for us at all. No matter what the chemical, no matter even if it's safe, to spray something artificial in our air cannot be healthy.
How do you feel about them doing this on this island?
I'm not very happy with it. I mean, me moving here, it's not like my island to say, like them like encroaching on our island and doing this, but it really upsets me to hear stories of my friends about like friends on the west side who've seen huge changes in their communities from this spraying, and changes in the water and the reef, and it just really upsets me. I can't even like put it to words of how I feel about it. For example, a story of somebody who told me that they've seen huge changes since the spraying. A friend of mine that lives on the west side was saying that since the spraying and since they've been stirring up so much dust, that there's so much red dirt and so much pollution, and they have to like power wash their houses down, and it's just covered in red dust, and the water's getting so much dirtier, and their eyes are burning when they're in the water now, and they can smell it, and there's huge changes. Even I was out on the west side this week, and just driving past like Dow's fields, the houses on the other side of the street are dark red, and you can smell something there that's not on the other sides of the island where they're not spraying this stuff. As far as the bubblegum masking, somebody told me that they've been in town on the west side, and when they're spraying the bubblegum, they could smell like a slight hint of bubblegum in the air, and they were really close to where the fields were. Aloha, I'm Bailey Schneider, and I'm in full support of Bill 2491. Pass the bill.
So what do you think about disclosure? Asking the big ag companies to tell us exactly what chemicals they are spraying, how much, and where.
What do I think about disclosure? Well, it's kind of obvious. I mean, if you talk to even the workers on the farm, they don't have a problem with disclosure. Pretty much all we're asking is to know what's in our environment, the chemicals that we're being surrounded with every day. And I don't see what the problem with disclosure is. The workers on the farm don't have a problem with it. the people out here don't have a problem with it. I mean, it's like they're protecting it from another corporation. I don't think so. So I really don't see the problem in it. It just comes down to legalities, and that's what they defend themselves with.
And what do you think about asking for 500-foot buffer zones between where they spray and schools, hospitals, people's homes, etc.?
Well, we've already seen that some strange effects have been happening to the kids at Waimea School. I mean, we've heard about the stinkweed, and it's kind of obvious that something is happening. And for us to not know exactly what we're being sprayed with or what's in the environment, and to have that a stone's throw away from the schools in our area, the rivers in our environment that are flowing right into the reefs, it's preposterous that we have to be asked this question. What do we think about this? This should already be in place. And it's like this is day one or something for these people. These have to be in place. It's not a question of whether it should be.
And what do you think about requiring an EIS or a environmental study to be done to see if there are toxic levels of these pesticides being found in the soil, water, bee pollen, and air?
Well, the same as the last question. It's obvious. It has to be done. We're fooling around with chemicals that are synthetic. They're not natural to our environment. We don't know the long-term effects. They don't even know the long-term effects, and they say that. We have to get an EIS, but instead it's just about the money. The land's open. Corporation sees it, gets it for a low price, and next thing you know, our environment is already flooded with these chemicals, and we don't know the impacts. So yeah, it's obvious we need an EIS.
Do you think it's a good idea to ask, and fair, to ask these companies to wait before expanding to other parts of the island until the results of these studies have been done?
Is it fair? Is it fair to the people? Is it fair to the people that have all these insane health effects coming up? Cancer is just spiraling out of control. We don't know the effects of this. Is it fair? It's it's not fair to the people. That's if you're asking what's fair. No, it's not fair. It's not fair that they expand.
Do you think it's a good idea for the island of Kauai to take care of this issue, or do you think it would be better to let Honolulu and the state of Hawaii to deal with this?
I believe Kauai is the perfect spot for this to be taken care of. The further you move away from small counties like this, the more you're going to see that money corrupts. Money gets in the way of everything. Lobbyists being legal? Are you kidding me? And this is the society that we live in? This is the perfect place to make a stand, for the rest of the country to see that it's possible to make a stand. We have the opportunity right now, standing up as a whole, to show the rest of the nation what we believe in. It's up to our elected officials right now. It's in the hands of them, the people that we know and we trust. We see them every day. We see them walking around the community. And that's what we love about this island. Can't elect officials and they can't hide in their cars and their offices all day in big cities. This is a small island. We see all of them around, and they can see how the general populace feels about it. I can understand employment and people worrying about their jobs, but let's look at how the entire population feels about this on this island, and I think we'll see that in a few days.
Okay. And just a general question, how do you feel about the large amounts of dangerous chemicals being sprayed in Waimea and possibly more areas on Kauai?
How do I feel about that? I mean, it's just insanity. That's how I feel about it. I grew up a regular American kid, believing in justice and everything was perfect. We lived in the perfect country, and we were teaching everybody else how to be perfect. And the more I grow up, the more I realize it was just a big American dream. The way these corporations control everything it's insanity. And I think, it's up to us to stand up and show the rest of these people that are stuck in this dream state. We need to stand up. We need to rise up. We need to take these corporations down from the street level, from the ground level, from you and me. All of us out there. We can do it, but we have to come together as a team and show the rest of the world this is how we feel.
What about specifically them doing this on Kauai, this GMO research and 18.5 tons a year of restricted use pesticides?
I think it's funny, because I went to college for chemistry, and I stopped. I dropped out of school for chemistry. I didn't know what I was going to do with it, but I like to have a science point of view of everything. And they're using this island as an experimental place. And if you think about it, they're in the middle Pacific. So if anything were to go wrong on this small island, well, it can be contained on this small island. Better to do it on this small population than next to a city where it could spread and some very harmful side effects could outtake, Better to have it next to a small rural community, tight-knit. They don't notice small cancerous effects that starts to spread throughout the community. That's why I think they're doing it here. If any really bad health effects come up, it won't be as noticeable. They can scoop it under the rugs. They can pay the local officials or whatever it may be. They love places like this. But they underestimated Kauai. That was their biggest problem.
Awesome. Is there anything else you want to say in general?
Hope to see you guys there on the march.
Nice. Want to say pass the bill?
Yeah, pass the bill, 2491. It's a tough decision for everybody out there. It's a really tough decision. But the rest of the world is watching, and no great things come easily.
Do you love Kauai? Yeah. Do you want to make sure Kauai is a safe place for you to grow up at? Okay, now say pass the bill. Say 2491. Okay, that's it.
What do you think about this? On the bill, they're asking for disclosure that the chemical companies need to tell us what they're spraying exactly and how much and where.
I think that Kauai has the right to know what is going on.
What do you think about the buffer zones, the 500-foot buffer zone that they're requiring around schools and hospitals and residential areas in the bill?
I think that is the right thing to do because when they spray pesticides, no one can carry it and end up in schools and hospitals and stuff.
Okay, and what do you think about requiring a study to be done to see if the pesticides are being found in the soil and the water and the pollen?
We should do a study because the bees are dying, and if the bees die, the crops will get what's called pollinated. If they don't get pollinated, they won't grow. They won't have anything to eat. They'll starve and die.
And do you think it's a good idea to ask these companies to wait on expanding and doing any more fields until this test is done to see what effect it's having?
Yeah, they should wait. Studies on the pesticides and learn what is in them.
Okay. And do you think it's a good idea for the island of Kauai to take care of this issue, or do you think it would be better to let Honolulu and the state of Hawaii, who are very busy with all the islands, to deal with this?
I think we should take care of it because if Honolulu hasn't taken care of this in the past, I don't think they'll ever do it. And because this is our island and it's our home, it's our responsibility.
How you feel about large amounts of dangerous chemicals being sprayed in Waimea and possibly more areas on Kauai?
Well, when they spray large amounts of pesticides in the soil, they could stay there for like hundreds and hundreds of years. And then so in the ground, where the soil won't be able to grow anything. Well, because we have such a large jungle and stuff, and if they spray, it could like ruin the island. And like we have a large water supply here. And if the pesticides end up in the water supply, everybody can get sick on the island.
Okay.
It would be like a wasteland. It would be like the soil would not be able to grow anything. And Yeah, we won't be able to grow anything. We won't have the jungle. Well, it just wouldn't be Kauai anymore. It would just be a dead island.
What do you think about the effect it's having on people in Waimea?
They're all getting sick because they're spraying the pesticides, and the wind carries it to their houses and schools. And then they all inhale it, and then they get sick and get this. Yeah, they get sick. They end up in hospitals.
Do you see us doing natural farming in the future? Do you see maybe the Ahupua'a system being rebuilt? I mean, the Hawaiians is probably farming naturally for a while.
Yeah, I can see that in the future. It's going to take teamwork, togetherness, and it's going to take time to prepare the soil.
What's your vision for the future of Kauai? Ideally, if it could be what you want, what would you like it to be?
To be what it used to be.
Which is?
Well, when all this stuff wasn't going on, where it's like we aren't in danger of being poisoned. It's like we have native plants on the island, and plants that are only found on the island, only here. And if those that end up going, then they won't be here anymore. Let's pass the bill.